About like a couple of days ago, I finished playing Dark Souls. I finished the first and the third game and uploaded the videos on the channel. And there is a common reaction I get when I tell people that I play Souls likes or any game from software, which always like baffles me a lot. People tell me like, are you crazy? Like, why do you want to torture yourself? The games are hard, the bosses are really hard, blah blah blah. But I don't know, like, one thing that, I mean, yes, it is true, the games are hard, but that's not, for me personally, that's not the point. Something about Dark Souls, and of course with all other From Software games, but with Dark Souls, something that really clicked with me was a concept that after finishing it, not just after finishing it actually, after playing Dark Souls 1, it really like stayed with me and I thought about it for a while. And people think Dark Souls is about difficult bosses, but I think it's about something much scarier, you know, and that is like losing yourself, which I want to talk about today. When I first started playing Dark Souls 1, something about it really caught my attention, and that was the concept of hollowing, or going hollow. And not gonna lie, I thought about it for a while. That's why I'm saying people sometimes don't pay enough attention to the stuff that the piece of fiction is trying to show you, whether if it's a game or a book or whatever, I don't know, anything like that. But sometimes it's more than just hard bosses, beat hard bosses and finish the game. Sometimes it's like there's a story behind it too. There's I don't know, an art, a great piece of music, a lot of those things, the character designs, those are the things to love as well. But the concept of hollowing is the thing that I want to talk about today. Hollowing isn't just about becoming a zombie or something, or becoming a monster or something. It's more like about losing your purpose. And that is something I thought about a lot, losing hope. That's why you see a lot of NPCs in the game that eventually lose it, and they turn hollow as well because they lost their hope and purpose at some point in the game. But like, there was some question that I had in my mind, and that was, what if hollowing isn't just a fantasy curse? There are some times, like in my own life, right, where I feel like stuck, or I'm losing my motivation. For example, doing YouTube here is something that I'm trying my best not to lose motivation, and I'm trying my best to work hard and continue working hard and not put it away, because without this goal, without this dream, then what am I? What would I be? And that's not just about me, it's about, I feel like, everybody else outside. It's about you. When you feel like every day is the same, or when you're wondering whether your dreams are realistic or not, that's, in my opinion, something to really think about. And that's why Dark Souls reminded me of this. I don't think I ever truly went hollow, but I understand how someone could. I'm living in a place where people's lives is tied with inflation, tied with war, and a lot of negative things I grew up and saw, and I still see. I go outside, I see people with, I don't know, I look at people and I tell myself like, what are the goals that this guy has, or like how does he see the world, or how does the world look like in his perspective, right? I always like analyze people. I don't know if you do this as well. I don't like stare at them in the eyes, of course, and like in a creepy way, but like in my own mind, I sometimes think, because those guys are humans too, and this is very interesting that they have goals, they have dreams, they probably have things they have achieved, which, like, good for them, and also things that they have given up on. Or maybe some other people that just work to survive, they don't work for enjoyments. They just work and work and work, but the money they make is never spent on something they would enjoy. or there are a lot of other people who stop believing things can improve, people who accept suffering because it's familiar, you know. This as well resonates with what you see in Dark Souls, because you see a lot of people that are against a change because they're too afraid of an alternation, you know. They don't know what's gonna happen, and the oblivion, the state of oblivion, brings a lot of confusion. You know, for me, Dark Souls made me wonder whether some people don't fight anymore, not because they're weak, but because they've forgotten what they're fighting for. You know, the world, I don't want to say, I don't want to be pessimistic here. I don't want to say the world is totally broken, but there are a lot of people that have fallen into this, and they think that the world is broken. I mean, I'm seeing this every day, you know. I can definitely say in the place that I live, you know, because of the amount of negative energy that I feel and I get from people, I can say that it's broken in this estate, in the place I live. But yet I still see people keep sacrificing themselves to preserve it, just like the flame, you know. Even though the world is like corrupted, or I don't know, in a way not the way that it should be, but I also see people protecting it, I see people defending it, and that just never makes sense to me. Why is change so terrifying? Like, is the unknown really scarier than endless suffering? You know, I started wondering if we sometimes keep our own first flames alive, you know, not because they are good, but because we are afraid of what comes after. So people stay in their safe zones, even though the safe zone is something that might harm you, might damage you, but they never want to take a step out. You know, maybe every one of us is carrying a little piece of the first flame. Maybe every one of us is one day away from going hollow. And maybe the hardest boss in Dark Souls isn't really on the screen. This concept right here is what I thought about a lot, and that's why I love games, video games, and all of those things, because it gives you an insight, something to think about. And I wish people would do that more, you know. I'll do it for myself, and I would definitely share it with you as well. If you're watching, I really hope to see your ideas as well. I see a couple of comments, people that tell me about these sort of things. There was a comment that I got that talked about NPCs going hollow and those things. I think that's exactly what my point here is as well, and I came to understanding as well. I just want to say, whatever you do, if you didn't think about this yourself, you might have, but if you didn't think about this yourself, I really hope that you can also stick to your goal and never go hollow, you know. Because like, at the end of the day, about these games and about Dark Souls, you know, the scariest part of it wasn't just the monsters, but maybe it was realizing that every one of us has to decide whether to cling to a dying fire or risk stepping into an unknown future.